Well, hello, model car fans. Welcome to the Muscle Car Modeler. My name is Revell, and this week I'm going to do a little bit of a dive into this particular kit right here, the Revell Monogram 60 Chevy Impala Hardtop kit here. And well, this was issued back in 1998, and it is shared from the 59 Impala tooling, which monogram kit at the time. Actually, that came out a couple years before. I think 96 was the first year. But this is the 60, and came out a couple years later in 1998, and it's been reissued a couple of times, but nothing real recent, so it's getting a little bit harder to find. But this is the first version when it was issued, and it's the only one that's all stock. I don't believe they've reissued a stock-only version since this kit, but there are some lowrider versions, 2-in-1s, which have some extra parts that. It's kind of ironic, but there are a couple of those parts in here, so it shows that they had those plans already in motion, just that this one didn't come with. I think the only thing really missing in here is the lowrider wheels or custom wheels and suspensions to pose it in a lowered stance. So, but there are a couple of parts in here, and then some of the 59 parts are in here, and a couple of little things that they didn't change for the 60. But I'll get into those as we open this box up. So for right now, I've got this kit. And it's going off to a friend, so I'm not going to have it very long. So I'm going to film this, go over it, and he won't know anything about this. So sorry it's open, but this is why. And I'll be airing this after he receives it, so there'll be a delay on that part. But nobody will ever notice that, other than the fact that I just flat out admitted it. But anyway, this is a nice box. It's a big box here. And just shows you the build up here in black with red interior. Talks about how they downsized the 59 Impala for 60. It was another classic of the time. A favorite for customizers. The V8, accurate bodywork, authentic factory stock appearing decals. Yeah, molded in white. Just kind of the typical stuff here. Here's the side of the box. A couple more pictures here. This one's got an opening trunk. And then the engine right here, which is the 348 engine. I do like this engine, and it's kind of unique in many aspects, but it didn't really live a very long life as far as Chevy motors go. But anyways, still, one of the things is funny. I built this kit, so I do have my built up. Actually, I get brought right here. I didn't know what colors to do, and I just kept staring at the box. So I did it in the factory box colors. And really enjoyed building it, actually. I wasn't all that excited about building it at first. The trunk does open, like I mentioned. So there's a trunk. I did it in gray. And then it's got some of the stuff on the bottom of the trunk. So some nice details and, decals that go along with it. Then the engine, the hood comes right off too. So if it does want to. I do have a video on this. So... But, and it's got the tri-power setup, so this air cleaner comes off and you can see all of that. So let's just get this all back together. And then, the underside is very, very nicely detailed kit. A lot of nice details. The spare tire well, which that's kind of incorrect. It's one of the things that's a flaw. Every model kit has its flaws, but that's just, one of them. There's basically two that I can point out right away. But great kit, really enjoyed it. And definitely on the high side of detail. On the opposite side, here's I believe SMP 60 El Camino, and hood doesn't open. I have the cover on here for a reason, because this one had everything glued into the bed, so the bed was just destroyed. But I had this too, so I covered it up with that. This was a restoration, and I had some fun with it, so I kind of hot rodded up a little bit. And just had some fun with it, but there's no engine in it. The hood doesn't open. Fairly, nicely interior. But it's kind of like, it's definitely a Craftsman kit from the time period before they really called them Craftsman kits. This was a nice restoration, a lot of fun. So when the wagon version comes out, that's why I'm kind of looking forward to that. So that gets into the context of this. So let's dip into this. And it's funny because I wasn't all that excited about building this particular car. What really got me excited, not really excited, to get moving on it, was my box was collapsing, and it's one of these, boxes that just comes apart, besides the fact that it's huge. This particular one, it's pretty much mint. So I'm going to dig all this stuff out of it, move the box out of the way, and we'll get into the instructions. Anything else in there? Yeah. Got everything out of there? Yep, I sure do. All right. Move that off to the side before I start opening some of this stuff up. Here's the monogram tires, Revell monogram. And I kind of like these. They've got the white wall inserts that you can put in them. They require a little bit of cleanup, but they, once they're done, they look really nice. And those are pretty much in there to keep them from damaging anything, hopefully. So here's the instructions, of course. So they talk a little bit about the Impala here. And of course, we'll just flip through the directions, but it's just everything you would expect. A lot of nice details: power steering pump, compressor, steering gear, fuel pump. Some things that are missing in some kits. It actually has the generator. Actually has a bracket on it, so that's there, properly labeled. I called it an AC compressor. The springs, the rear suspension, link arm, showing you exactly where to put that. The two-piece drive shaft, the rear end, and all this stuff. It's funny. This has a center pumpkin that pulls out of it. The real one does, kind of like a Ford 9-inch. But that's what Chevrolet was doing in these cars. 65 was the first year where they actually had the 10-bolt cover on the back. So it's funny because I think of that because we had a 55 Chevy at work one time that the rear end blew up. And our technicians, they didn't know. Why would they? They don't work on 55 Chevys on a regular basis. Plus, the car was more than double the age of the technician that was working on it. But he assumed somebody put a Ford 9-inch in it, and he didn't know where we were going to get parts for it. So we still didn't know where we were going to get parts for it. But anyway, got all this stuff on the firewall, all these details, washer fluid, bottle. So a lot of very, very nice details. This kit has a lot of good stuff. Armrest, separate armrest, the speaker grill, all kinds of good stuff. So all these 7 pieces of chrome, taillights. So a lot of really good stuff in here and a lot of good references, at least in these directions. And then the water slide decals. Now, these ones are actually water slide decals. For those that don't know, at least the first versions of the 59 Impala kit, which I have the hardtop and the convertible. Here's some box arts. Those particular ones that I have, they don't have water slide decals. They have peel and stick decals for the interior. Which, here's a picture of those decals. But people do offer, water slide ones, and maybe the later kits have water slide ones. I don't really know. But this one has water slide. So, and here's the massive, massive chrome tree. Let's kind of move that out of the way at the moment so we can share. One of the things I liked about it, you've got your full wheel covers here, but they've got the Impala emblem, on it. Or the cross flags, I should say. But they also have a separate one. So if you want the wing style, the knockoff style, you can glue those right on top, which I did. On mine, I did that. And it also has the decals to put on top of them, or you can paint them. And the decals for them are right there in the corner. So one of the nice touches with that, front and rear bumper, the taillights, the grill. There's the other side when you flip it over for the taillights. Here's those hydraulic pumps. You got some, a huge chunk of the under dash, all the window crank handles, the vent window handles, all kinds of stuff here. Miscellaneous pieces of chrome, the spears on the side. There are some parts in here from the 59. Here's the carburetors. Here's this. Vent windows, dual antennas, which that's a nice touch. You got those. Can't quite remember what those are for. These are from the 59. They're still here. These are from the 59 as well. Those are still here. So there are some parts that aren't needed, but a lot of stuff was converted over. I believe those are for the 59 as well. But so there are some pieces in here from the 59. A lot of the 60 stuff here. Yeah, we'll get the glass out. A lot of nice touches here too. We got the sun visors as part of the windshield. Here's the rear glass for it. You got your, the vent windows, the separate headlights. But you also got these. There's the backup lights that go in there. The center ones, they're clear. And then you've got the front turn signals right here. And here, there's 2 of them. I didn't know what those were at first until I built it. Those are the dome lights, and there's two of them on this car. They're on the sides, in the roof, one left, one right. They're the same, but that's what those are. So that kind of threw me for a loop. Now it's time to bust this big bag open. So let's cut it from this side, the heat shrunk side. In case there's anything loose. Here's that body with the opening trunk. Like I mentioned, the 59, its trunk doesn't open. But a very nice body with some of the chrome molded in, some not, some separate pieces. The bubble top, I really like the bubble top. And just the way this is made, it just goes in there really well. There is headliner detail molded in, and some of the other stuff, some nice engraving, just very, very nicely shaped. I mean, this is just an excellent model. Here's the white walls, the interior tub, the bench seat, trunk lid, the side door panel, door cards with all the separate parts. You can really have fun painting these and detailing them up. Here's the trunk insert since it opens with the flat spare tire, which would be correct for 60. There was a couple of threads on the Model Car Magazine's forum on this from a couple years back, talking about how that wasn't technically correct. Or this is correct, I should say. The chassis isn't, but I'll get to that part. So there's that. Since we're talking about the chassis, but yeah, here's the molded chassis with a lot of great detail, but it's got this well right there, which I understand the 59s had it that way and the 60s didn't. So that should be flat like this. If anybody actually knows. I mean, you can't really tell. Nobody'd really know. I really wouldn't have known, and I probably wouldn't have caught on when I'm looking in trunk pictures and seeing the spare tire flatten and seeing that. The X frame, kind of unique to those cars up until 65. They went back to a box perimeter frame. The front suspension, that's stock, but the A arms and all this stuff, and the power steering ram, the rear suspension, the exhaust that goes along with it, springs, shocks. There's that pumpkin, upper control arms. A lot of nice stuff, all separate pieces. Another really big tree, but here's the hood, the firewall, radiator, shroud, inner wheels, but then you got all these engine parts. Here's all the 348 parts, the dual snorkel tricarb setup, manifolds, molded heater hoses with nice touch, the pedals, automatic of course, the rear suspension pieces and hinges. These are the trunk hinges. Engine block, nice steering wheel, the belt. This isn't technically correct. It's only got one belt there. Fan. Here's the power steering pump that's on the back of the generator. That's not correct. That's correct for 59, but not for 60. 60 would have a separate pump mounted low. Coil, master cylinder, fuel pump, steering column levers. It's kind of nice to have the turn signal and the automatic. The washer bottle, starter. Here's the generator, springs, distributor, the rear suspension link, all that stuff. There's the steering gear. There's the water pump. So a lot of really nice stuff, and it takes your time putting it together, but it goes together really nice and everything fits really well. Here's the latch plate with the dual horns. So all this stuff fits together really, really well and comes out pretty nice. So the only thing that I think is kind of odd is, I wonder if a convertible version of this was ever planned, because one never came out. It's just kind of funny that the 59 kit both has a hardtop and a convertible. The 59 Cadillac kit, there's a hardtop and a convertible of that. But the 60 only came with a hardtop. Now, the 59 convertible is pretty easy to find. Or I should say, probably the most plentiful, or at least in my experience, of finding. And you could probably get the convertible parts and kit bash it to this if you really wanted to make a convertible. I like convertibles, so that's what I was kind of wondering. Originally, I bought the 59 convertible. I haven't built it, and I did eventually pick up the 60 convertible as well. But, that's that. Oh, the taillights. Oh, and matter of fact, seems I got two sets. That's kind of cool. Because, yeah, there was 2 on each side, so a total of 4. So it looks like I got extras, which is nice because those are really easy to drop. Don't ask me how I know that. That's just a piece of sprue. Anyways, you guys, you know, and size-wise, it says it's a 125th, not 124th. I think that's what it says on the box. And you could tell, looking at it, it's really not much bigger than this. So whether who's more accurate, I don't know. The El Camino might be a little bit shorter than the car, but because the El Camino only seats 2. But just some pretty nice stuff, and both build up really nice. So anyway, I figured I would share these with you and give you a nice deep dive into this particular kit, since I have it and everything, but it's going to go away. But I really enjoyed building mine. It was kind of a pleasure and a surprise, because I was kind of not really dreading it. It just seemed a little bit much, but after building it, I really enjoyed it, and kind of look forward to getting into some of the other ones too. I'm kind of itching doing one of the 59s as well. So anyways, you guys, thank you for hanging out with me and enjoying all of this. So you guys, you have a good weekend, and I'll see you next time. But before I go, don't forget to like, share, subscribe. Appreciate all your comments and everything. Those are always fun. And you guys, you have a wonderful weekend, and I'll see you next time.